From the Middle is a founding member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 138 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. And since that really doesn't tell you what we talk about, we're a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview style podcast where we like to be relaxed. We don't want to be loud and obnoxious. We want to find a nice conversational middle point that you can just turn on and enjoy. In this episode, we go back to a Twitter poll from a few things we discussed in episode 138. I am over delivering food. We introduce our kids to some new things, which also leads to some gaming. Corey had a weird dream, and we talk about all kinds of things that we're watching, including but not limited to WWE. We hope you love this episode. Check it out.
Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the Middle after dark over here.
Hey, guys.
We're back.
We are back.
A lot going on, a lot to catch up on. We just passed around another Greek letter of the coronavirus in our house. Everybody's in the clear tomorrow. So,
except for you.
Except for me.
You haven't had this round yet.
I haven't had this round yet. But yeah, we are passing it around. How's it going, guys? It's good to be back together once again.
I saw a meme going around, which is kind of how I feel right now. It was a meme from The Walking Dead where you have like the main characters, like 4 or 5 of them, all like back to back with like zombies kind of surrounding them. And so they're in that defense position. It was like all the people who've made it to 2022 without COVID yet. and and that's how I feel, because it's gotten to a point. I was talking to my wife just a few minutes ago that I'm pretty sure if I go through the list of like all of the people that I see on a regular basis, it's to a point where more than half of them easily have had COVID at some point. But as for me and my family, negative so far the whole time.
Fantastic. So
we were even on a plane in the middle of a surge
in Tennessee.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, it's good to be back. I would have much preferred to be in the studio in person, but I didn't want to put you guys at risk. And even though I have no symptoms and I have tested negative twice, my kids and Sherry just are getting over it. So just wanted to err on the side of caution. Brian Posehn here, in case you missed last week's episode. I've got the glasses on, so now I've got the full Brian Posehn look.
I saw the invite, which usually has your wife's name on it. This time had Brian Posehn's name on it, and I chuckled. And I was a little disappointed when
it wasn't him.
When I showed up, and
yeah, we got a lot of good responses on the From the Middle for the Middlers page. About other unfortunate looking celebrities. So a lot of good discussion going on there. What's going on, Dylan? How you doing, bud?
Well, speaking of last episode or last week, on episode 137, we were discussing conversational grammar. And I said I was going to ask on Twitter just to get a little bit of feedback. And I did. The results are in, if you care to know. So here was the exact question. In episode 137, we discussed conversational grammar. In that vein, do you want your conversational grammar politely corrected? We didn't even say politely, but I just figured you got to kind of approach it that way, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
So the options were yes, begrudgingly, no, or oh hell no were the options for the Twitter response. Any guesses for what the most popular response was?
I would say just the maybe yes begrudgingly. That's what I'm going to say.
I'm
think
going to
that's the
guess that
top
these
five?
were surprisingly close.
All right. At 35%, the top response was no. Not even politely
Oh.
do people want their grammar corrected. Second place was a begrudging yes at 27%. So, which means not really, but I don't want to look like an idiot. So maybe. In third place was just yes. And in fourth place with 15% was the oh hell no. So people really don't want their grammar corrected, is what we're finding out. So thanks, Twitter.
But it's
Uh,
not. It's
now
not
we know.
sweeping. It's not a sweeping.
It wasn't.
victory.
It wasn't sweeping. No, it wasn't. But I think that's pretty indicative of the kind of attitude people have towards their grammar being corrected. It's a pretty strong no or just barely yes is what they're saying.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
So,
talk wrong and leave me alone.
Yeah. If that doesn't just absolutely personify the American Wild West cowboy attitude spirit, I don't know what does. Just leave me alone. Just
Just leave me alone.
leave me alone with my poor grammar. I don't care.
I feel like there's a catch-22 there for like the super self-conscious people, because self-conscious people are like, I want to know if I'm saying something wrong, and I also don't want you to tell me about it. Like, if you're yeah, I can
Could
see
you
that
create-
being.
Could
being
you
a
create an
conflict.
anonymous email and email me later?
That would be worse. That'd be worse, because now I'm going to be worried about who heard it and who thinks I'm an idiot.
You know what I think of when I think of this poll? Thank you for doing that, by the way, Dylan.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of a story. Sherry was getting together with some girlfriends once, and she had one of those necklaces that is meant to be doubled and tripled over so that you've got like 3 necklaces. But she's like, what if I just wore this undone and all the way down to like her knees? And I said, if you wear it with enough confidence, I'm sure that they won't even, that they'll be like, oh, like, and sure enough, like both of the girls were like, that's really pretty. Is that like the style? Is that what's cool in Columbus these days? And she's like, no, I was messing with you guys. So I think that carries over to your grammar and your word choices sometimes. If you just blow right past it, even somebody that's thinking, I don't think he used that word correctly, will be probably second guessing themselves more than you are.
And if that's not the American spirit, just to be so boldly confident that you just blow by it, then I think we're pretty safe that that's what's going to keep happening, because people don't want to hear about it.
Well, that's what Sherry said. So
Sherry's right. Sherry's with
Right again.
Sherry's with the majority. And this
There you
is
have
why on issues that we're maybe not speaking from the middle, we do have to reach out to the Twitterverse and see what people think.
Make sure we're centrist enough.
we don't want to be in our own little echo chamber.
That's true. Yeah. On top of that, I just decided, and you guys can chime in on this if you want. Food delivery apps aren't for me. I'm there. The food's cold. It takes too long. You either hear nothing from the driver. There's too much text banter.
Too much hassle. Just go through the drive-through.
It's too much. I'll just go curbside. Everyone has curbside now, which I think makes it so much easier. And some people that are listening for a while are gonna be like, look, Dylan can eat whatever combination of meat and melted cheese from Taco Bell, but then he complains about delivery food. I get it. But like everything's soggy. I don't know. Why is all the food always soggy? And I think what bothers me most is that even if you tip really well, which I got a gift card from work, we did the thing and the Uber Eats, and here's kind of part of what bothered me. You have to pick food based on what you know is going to hold up for way too long of a car ride, right? So you have to factor that into your food choice. Second, the food was, you can see in the app, it might be better if the apps just didn't let me know every step of the way what's happening and the food just showed up. I'd probably feel better. So I see that Danny has picked up my food at the restaurant. In this case, it's like 6:02, and the restaurant is less than 10 minutes from my house. But then it doesn't do the direct line to your address. It's like the overarching thing, because Danny's going to go pick up 2 or 3 more orders after mine, go drop those off, and it's going to be 35 minutes when it should have been 8. And I tipped well. And I feel like now I'm annoyed because like subs are getting prioritized over my hot sit down restaurant meal. And I'm not happy about it anymore. And so the whole thing just doesn't feel worth it. I don't know. Maybe you have some thoughts. That's where I am.
It does
after
seem
the
like
most recent.
kind of like a crapshoot where you're obviously paying for the convenience, but the experience is lacking, and so you end up paying more for food that's less good.
Yeah,
when all is said and done, it's like going to a gas station to buy your deodorant and spending $8 on it.
Yeah, and everyone's gonna yell at me for that, but like, it's you're paying for convenience. I get it, but like, I feel like if you tip really well, I kind of want my order prioritized, and I understand there's an efficiency thing, right? Like Danny, the driver, is seeing he can hit 2 more things along the way to my house, but then when I see that drags out my order 35 more minutes. And I don't care that my food's in a hot bag anymore, Danny. I know that you went and picked up 2 more orders on the way to my house, and now you're being chatty, and I feel like I have to entertain a new friend. And I don't know. Anyways, that was the most recent Uber. That was the most recent Uber Eats.
Well, I was gonna ask what the final nail in the coffin was. I assumed it was going to be an incorrect order or a missing entree, which has happened to us one too many times, it feels. But yeah,
we had a really bad experience at a kind of a nicer high end sit down place nearby that we thought, well, let's try it again. Because when you get a gift card, that's when you're like, I'm already going to pay 40% more for this meal than it actually costs because of all the fees and the whatever. So at least if I have a gift card, let's really try it. And like nothing through their app was, you had no customization for this restaurant, and nothing was communicated that it was like a la carte. So I ordered some kind of like beef for like a nice beef dish. And literally it was a clear plastic tin with a slice of beef in it by itself. And that was my whole entree, because it was like, the name sounded really nice, like beef something entree, but it like, yeah, it literally was just a piece of meat, plain. No like lettuce to lay it on, or like no bed of anything.
You ordered the slab-o beef.
Yeah, here's a friggin' slab of meat, you Neanderthal. Enjoy it in a plastic container.
But I'm going 2 more places first.
I didn't even get styrofoam to keep it warm. It was like plastic, like venting all the steam just rolling out of it. I don't know. That was one of them. And then the most recent one, I don't know. Danny was fine. It's not his fault. Delivery apps aren't for me. That's where I am.
Which is weird, because at the beginning of this whole pandemic thing, I guess that was almost 2 years ago, you guys were doing the food delivery stuff like regularly, right?
It wasn't a ton. I think what we've really gained out of all of this, the true shining star, is the curbside. Everyone doing curbside now, because you control your own destiny. If I get there, and I don't want to see a video of my delivery guy eating my French fries out of my bag on TikTok, right? So like, I can get there early. The food will hopefully come out piping hot straight to my window. I can beamline home, and I know that no one has licked my slab of meat, to taste it on the way back, right? Because he's got 2 more stops before my house,
I love how you describe curbside like it's a sports team, like on their way to the national championship.
This is all I have now. It's winter. It's Ohio. There's still a pandemic. Most of the good sports are over. I got nothing else. I think the real winner was all the curbside options. The curbside, they added all these like nice parking spots up front. Everyone's got the online ordering now. I think that's the real winner.
Here's to you, curbside. Speaking of sports, Kendall.
Yeah. Speaking of how all the good sports are over now.
I know.
I went to a hockey game.
Yeah, hockey's nice.
Hockey actually is my favorite sport. Man, it's been a long time since I've been to a hockey game, and we have friends at the church who have 6 season tickets, and they have a whole long list of people that they like to give these tickets to when they can't go to the games. And they asked if I wanted to be put on that list, and I did, knowing that they have a ton of people. Well, like on Sunday, they're like, we don't have anybody going to this game. That is tonight. We have all 6 tickets. I'm like, sweet. We have a family of 5 and an extra chair for coats. So on the spot, said yes, got the tickets from her, and took the kids to their first hockey game. It was, I'm still smiling because of last night, man. It was great.
Awesome.
I was delightfully surprised by the fact that like all 3 little ones had a good time, and like nobody was like clamoring to go home. Like they were legitimately having fun. Hockey games are a lot of fun.
They are.
And man, it was so much fun walking around the stadium with kids, and at the Blue Jackets arena they have the cannon that you can go see and get your picture taken with, and they wanted to. We took them all the way up to the very top so they could see what the whole place looks like from the nosebleed seats, and that was fun. It was just a good experience.
Yeah.
And I'm addicted. I get addicted to things like this. It's like there's another home game on Wednesday and I want to go.
Yeah. I can't wait for the hate mail to from not only the hockey fans but also the March Madness fans for saying the good sports are over. But I genuinely do enjoy a Blue Jackets game, and Nationwide Arena is such a nice venue.
It is.
It's a very clean. It seems to always be very well organized and very well run. I always appreciate going to events and sporting and non-sporting events at Nationwide Arena because it's a nice area, it's a nice arena, and it's fun to root for the Jackets even when they're not good.
Even when they're not good. This isn't an up year. This is a mediocre year, but still fun.
What do you think the kids enjoyed most, Kendall? Because Nationwide does such a good job at Jackets games of like lots of flashing lights and music and the sirens and the cannons and you're engaged with the screen. Like, did you see their eyes like really light up at anything in particular? Was there any good fights or anything?
There were 0 fights. The loud noises tend to scare my kids. I think they're still traumatized from that trip to the bathroom I made a few weeks ago.
Nice callback.
But actually, I think they start off, pregame is where they really throw all the flashing strobe lights at you and the loud thumping music and the obnoxious announcer voice and everything. And I don't think they were too keen on it at that point yet, but I think it grew on them is what happened. And I think they enjoyed their time there closer toward the end of the night than at the very beginning. And so yeah.
That's a really big environment to acclimate to at that age.
Sure.
Like, I mean, regardless of even if the arena was half empty or a third empty, it's still huge, and you're downtown. And like, I mean, even now, still going down to the arena district, it still has this little bit of energy. On game night, everyone's kind of pouring into Nationwide Arena, and there's something about that I could see that being like a little daunting at first, but I'm glad to see they warmed up.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear they warmed up by the end. Did they give you any like sense of like, okay, when can we do that again?
Yeah. And that's, I was just thinking further on Corey's question. What I think happened was as the game went on, they got to know like the chants and the cheers, like "Let's Go Jackets" and like, CBJ. They started to pick up on those things, and then we as a family started yelling them, and I think that they started to feel a sense of belonging when they started to take part in those chants that they had not known before. I think that's what it was. They were getting familiar with those, and those things pulled them in, and now they felt ownership. And so today, I was hearing from one of my boys how disappointed he was about how the Blue Jackets lost last night. and I told him, like, well, that's sports, buddy. That happens, man. But you can still cheer for him anyway. And he's like, yeah. And he's already talked to me about wanting to go back again. As a matter of fact, they advertised it there at the stadium, like the stadium host guy who goes around to talk to different people for different things on the Megatron said, the next home game is on Wednesday night. Get your tickets at blah, 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 blah. And so he brought that up later. I was like, it's like, we could go again on Wednesday night. So
do you ever think about that as parents? Like, because there's beauty in exposing them to lots of different types of things. But then when do you really commit and like continue to take them back and go, maybe he'll pick up hockey, maybe he'll be good at hockey, maybe we'll buy him the gear and he'll be on a traveling team. Like I thought even about that when I took Case to Monster Jam at the same venue. I'm like, maybe he's a kid that really wants to get into trucks and being a mechanic and like the science and the engineering of trucks and vehicles. Cause you know, every boy loves trucks. Right. And I'm like, cause he's already asking to go back. So I'm like, what's the line between expose them to a lot, but then we're going to become a Blue Jackets family, or we're going to be a Monster Jam family, or whatever, you know?
I think it's really hard to choreograph that stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to ask how Sherry would feel about becoming a Monster Jam family.
Yeah.
Or an F1 family,
or an F1 family. I think that's a great question. I like, you know, when we were little and we really wanted something, you know, we'd go to the closest place to go shop and we'd go into a Toys R Us, RIP. You go to a Toys R Us. And one thing that our dad would frequently do is he would say, if you still want this in 2 weeks, then we'll come back and get it. And, you know, because knowing that most of the time, you know, it's like this one-off toy or one-off thing that like we're going to forget about 5 minutes after we leave. And maybe it's that. Maybe there's some version of that for this moment where you're like, if you really want to go back, we'll go back next year.
Yeah, the sign is whether or not they keep asking about it.
Whether or not they keep asking, like you got to give them a little glimmer of hope so that they would ask. But like if they keep asking, then that's probably your sign that that's something they're genuinely wanting to do.
Or what if you make them sacrifice something for it? So I've got, again, the same boy has been wanting to play the drums and has asked for a drum set relatively regularly. And the thing is, for me to make that happen for him is real simple. I have a drum set. It's just not at the house. I just have to bring it home. And, but I haven't done it yet. And I've talked to him about it. And so when birthday comes up or Christmas comes up, he'll start talking about this drum set again. And then a couple of things I lay out for him. I'm like, all right, if you get this drum set, it means you're not getting like this Switch game or whatever it is. And I'll tell him, if I get you a drum set, if you want to learn how to play drums, I'm going to hold you to that for a while. Like I'm going to expect you to practice every day. I'm going to start giving you some lessons and you're going to have to put some work in. And then when I start talking to him about that, he shies off of it. So he doesn't have a drum set yet.
Yeah. So that's kind of you're throwing out the fleece with that. That's kind of your litmus test to say, like, what's your real interest level? Does it just look cool to you, or would you really commit to the work involved in practice and all the things?
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting.
So I don't know that applies to everything across the board, but at least to sports or things like that. That's basically been my approach. Now, my oldest kid is 7 years old. So what do I know yet? I don't have a.
Well, like I could see. So the flip side of my question is like, there are things in my kids' lives that I haven't exposed them to because I know they're going to like it. Like I was really slow to let Case play video games because I knew he would glom onto them and be asking to play all the time. So because I got an external hard drive for my PlayStation, I could get more games, and Fortnite is free. Fortnite is something I personally had tried, wasn't very good at, so I deleted it off of my console. But the kids have been asking because some of their friends play, and I was like, I'll put it back on the PlayStation. So I put Fortnite back on the PlayStation. Sure enough, they're asking to play multiple hours a day. And we have a list of things you have to do in the house in order to earn video game time or earn screen time. And you don't get screen time until those things are done for the day. And then when those things are done for the day, you only get, I think it's like 2 half-hour chunks that they're allowed to play. But some of you probably have already seen on our social channels that he got his first victory in Battle Royale on Fortnite.
Yeah.
And it's, you guys, it is so funny because he does all the same stuff I do in Fortnite or that I do in Warzone in Fortnite. So like if he gets killed, he slaps the top of his leg or like his knee, like I do when I lose. And then Sherry and I were in the kitchen, and this was the most adorable thing. He said, "Oh, my buddy Logan at school, he plays, but they don't have phones, so like he can't text Logan to get his screen name or anything to know to add him so they can play together." So yeah, I was like, "All right, buddy, tomorrow at school, you got to ask him what his screen name is." So sure enough, he brings home a piece of printer paper with Logan _9818 or whatever the screen name was.
Yeah.
Like, "Dad, can we add Logan?" So we add Logan, and then he has to go back to school the next day and say, "My dad sent the friend request. Are you the cow avatar? Is that you? Okay, great. Accept the friend request." So anyway, after like 3 days of this back and forth, he finally gets to play with Logan, and he's never experienced playing with a buddy virtually in an online game. So when they first get into the lobby together and we've confirmed that it's Logan, their voices were all high pitched and excited that they were going to finally get to play together. So we leave him to it. I shut the door because I moved the PlayStation into my office. I shut the door and I go outside, and Sherry and Al are in the kitchen, and all we hear is him going, bro, there's 2 guys over there. Okay, I got him. I'm down, bro, I'm down. You got to come save me, bro. It's so cute. Oh man, I was like, Sherry, you got to take a picture of him. He's having his first gaming time with his buddy. That's the cutest thing ever. So yeah, like there are those things where you're like, what do I want to expose them to? And what do I not want to expose them to? Because it is a slippery slope.
And between your shirt and the shelf behind you and that story, we're just a whole new generation of parents that have never existed before. This is not nothing like this has ever existed before in parenting history in all of time.
Do you know how often I think that when I think about the fact that we just grew up with the internet and video games and Lego and it's encouraged and okay to be a geek dad now?
Yeah, nobody cares. Just like we've talked about how the internet brings together some weird communities, it also kind of normalizes a lot of like the buying old toys and collectibles and gaming and doing a lot of the things that you've never done. I mean, gaming is like a multi-billion-dollar industry. Obviously, friggin' tons of people are playing video games. And so it's just funny. I think about that often. Like, this is a whole thing that we've never, just having access to Disney Plus as a parent for your kid is like a whole other level of everything, anything, Marvel, Star Wars, Disney, Pixar, name it and friggin' watch it. And you can go through and at any point, like I just on a whim, my daughter gets really stuck on the one thing she wants to watch and won't. So I have to see, just give it a few minutes. Let's try something new and give it a few minutes. And so
if you really want to watch it in 2 weeks, we can watch it.
We can watch it. Yeah. If you really want to keep going in 2 weeks. So I played the first like 10 or 15 minutes of Ratatouille and she loved it. And she wanted to watch it again. But just on a whim that I can just pick something that I'm like, I really like Ratatouille. There's no seriously scary villain in it because she's not quite 4. So like, I don't want to play anything with super dark villain. And she loved it. And it's like, you don't know, but I can just that quickly just throw something on and you can just download a game in an instant and he's broing it up with his bro.
Yeah.
Playing Fortnite online. I love it.
And then sure enough, the next day, because he and Lily got into it too. So thing 1 and thing 3 are both playing, right? So then they both
Yeah.
come to me and they're like, so Dad, there's this thing called Battle Pass. And if we get these things called V-Bucks, we can unlock new skins and we'll pay you back. But we were just wondering if it would like be okay if we buy it in the game. And I'm like, here we go. Here we go. Sherry's just rolling her eyes like, what have you done?
Well, you've at least prepared Sherry for this because you did the same thing to Sherry 10 years ago.
Yep.
So she's been prepared for.
That's why she rolls her eyes, because she knows exactly what's coming.
There's this expansion pack for Battlefront. And if I get it, I get these special weapons and Han Solo's pistol.
Yeah, if I pre-order now, which it's $10 more, but you get Han's blaster, and there's no other way to get that in the game. I fall for all of the things. Oh, this is fun. This feels like a good time to take a quick break and hear from one of our friends in the Odd Pods Media Network.
I'm Richie, aka Midnight Agent Raw.
I'm Devin, aka Special Delivery Dev.
We're the Super Media Bros podcast. And each week, we give a comedically informative take on movies,
Music,
television,
pro wrestling,
and much more. Check us out at supermediabrospodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that you can listen to podcasts. Shades on.
We're off.
So, Kendall, you mentioned church, and that's where you had gotten the Blue Jackets tickets. And we skipped church because we were quarantining. So I got to sleep in on Sunday. And I don't know if this happens to you guys on days where you can sleep in, but like you keep drifting in and out of sleep because you know you can. You have the luxury of not having to get up at a certain time. So I have this dream that I was asked to be a guest speaker at a conference for those in pastoral leadership and vocational ministry. So this is like, I'm going to be doing a TED talk for pastors, church staff, and lay leaders. That's where I wake up, right? But then as I'm like half awake and then going back to sleep for 30-minute chunks, I'm like planning my talk. So like, because that's where I left off with the dream. I'm like planning the things I want to say, and I'm coming up with some real good bullet points. And so we're going to do a little like improv here, and I'm going to do the talking points and you guys just go, yeah, like you're like, it's call and response, right? Like I'm making a really good point. And then you're like, yeah, okay. So like something.
Yeah.
And then something else.
Woo. Yeah.
And we should spend more time focusing on our come on in sons than our competition. Like come on in. And then I thought, wow, that would crush at a conference for vocational ministry. And then I'm like, maybe not the come on in son part, like maybe one specific denomination. That probably wouldn't be the best bullet point. But anyway, so that was my Sunday morning. And I kept thinking about that all day.
That was such a nice version of it too, to not just say, sleeping 30 minutes in between getting up to pee every time. That was a nice version.
Well, you got some kind of bounty hunter there? Bounty hunter friend with you there, Dylan?
Just a clone trooper.
It's a clone trooper?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. What's his name?
I don't know. I just wanted to hold him in the camera. If you're listening and not watching on YouTube, I just have a Lego Star Wars clone trooper that's in camera.
Don't mind me.
So just hanging out.
I don't know the difference among things.
Yeah, it would be like a clone, trooper, probably from episodes 1 through 3, maybe like some kind of like platoon leader or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Hey, so I figured out I talked about how I figured out how to save a game, and so that way I can keep playing Jedi Knight Outcast.
Yes.
And now I have a question for you guys.
All right.
Is it cheating to save your game too often when you're given complete control over when you can save? So if I take 2 steps, like, all right, save. 2 steps. All right, delete, save.
Here's how I define
Is that cheating?
Here's how I define cheating in a game, and I'm going to use a long standing conversation I've had with a good friend of mine, also a listener, Tom. If the game allows you to do it without working outside of the game build, then it's not cheating. Do you know why? Do you know why camping with a sniper rifle in any shooting game isn't cheating? Because the game allows you to do it without any sort of hacking or downloading something and like saving a file to like change the way the game is played. So
Exactly.
absolutely, it's not cheating. Just would some people think that it's sort of like beginner gamer and like ridicule you for being a beginner by saving constantly? Probably, but it's not cheating.
Right on.
You're good.
Right on. So I started saving. The saves have gotten more and more frequent.
Every
It's-
5
it-
steps.
It's legit a hard game, guys. It really is. I've even read that about the game, that it's hard.
It's notoriously challenging. Are there difficulty settings?
I don't remember. I've been playing it long enough now that I don't remember if I set that or not.
Okay.
I usually aim for the middle when I do have to set it. But yeah, no, sometimes I'll just use the save feature because like even if it's not because I keep dying, but because like I had to find a particular door or something and I had like to walk a long ways and it took me 2 minutes to get there. I'll save it right then and there. So that way, like when I do eventually die, I just saved myself 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an anxiety dampener. Like you just get a little bit of a anxiety release because you're like, I don't have to do that part again, that part again, that part again, that part again,
Yeah,
that part again. And so you every time you do it, you have a little, and then you keep playing and you can keep saving. No, you're fine. Play how you want to play.
That's how I'm playing.
Beautiful.
You know, here's a perfect segue. Our friends over at the Grief Burrito just started a new YouTube channel called Grief Burrito Gamer. And I forced myself to watch 23 minutes of Haz playing a level over and over and over and over and over again. And his commentary is wonderful. But man, I wish he had more save points in Another World, which is a retro game. So if you want some fun, go watch Haz try to beat the level. So yeah, shout out to our friends over in the UK.
Great
Indeed.
podcast. Very cool guys.
It's comedic takes on them playing games, and it's a fun new channel. Go check it out. So yeah, I'm with Dylan. I don't think it's cheating. Just like camping is not cheating. People don't have to like your style of play, but it's not like you're putting your video game in a Game Shark cartridge that goes inside of your console.
Right.
Remember those days?
Yeah. Speaking of all this and speaking of sniping, have we highlighted Corey's new mid bit?
Yeah. I had a nice run of sniping kills in Call of Duty Warzone the other day in the new map, Caldera. Our Dylan and I's mutual friend Tom Pintello, hope it's okay that we shouted him out on the episode. He's big into Warzone, and that's his style of play. He's a sniper, and he showed me this spot in the area of the map called Mines. So you can get on top of this really high tower where they have like gondolas for the ore that they're mining out of the ground, and you can climb up. Probably, I don't know how many stories it is. And I had like 8 kills from up there. It was awesome. So we shared that clip over on our mid bits. That's really good for me. And I was using the Carbine 98K, which is a German sniper rifle. A lot of fun. So yeah, we post all kind of weird things like that. Who's that one, Dylan? Was the last one Kreis or Kreese? or Cody?
Yeah, we're back to minifigs. I don't, when it comes to Star Wars, I'm a real sucker for clone troopers, stormtrooper, any kind of like trooper. And so when Lego releases those bell packs where you get like 3 or 4 for like 15 or 20 bucks, I'm a real sucker for buying multiples of those. So I don't know. They just released a little battle pack that had 3 clone troopers in it, and I decided I needed a few. And so they've been hanging out on my desk. This specifically, these are from episode 2, the battle on Geonosis. You can tell because of the little set that they come with. For anybody that's watched, do you remember they had those little like forward structures, like
Yeah.
the little command post structures on Geonosis, the kind of desert planet, and then cool little command posts as their little ships landed. Yeah, we have tchotchkes on our desk, right? Also, the Lego police car is very cool. That's a cool desk tchotchke, fun to roll around.
Corey's got a punching.
This is
Yeah,
my pen. This is my pen from Australia. It's a little kangaroo. Since we're just showing stuff on our desk, but yeah, go check out that Midbits video and all the other fun things that we post over there on our YouTube channel.
Which also, thank you for all the people who currently subscribe. We just ran. We don't promote the channel a ton, especially on social media. We talk about it a little bit here and there on the podcast. We have over 200 subscribers now. So thank you for everyone who's subscribed to the channel. Over 20,000 some views on our videos. All of our episodes are there, as well as some bonus content and in the form of Midbits and tangent videos. So definitely go check that out. And it's a fun little sub channel. We don't bombard you with content. We have our weekly episode, and then we throw other stuff on there here and there. So subscribe, hit the little dingy bell so you know when there's new content. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Let's get a real-time update. How many views for the Treehouse video? 14,756.
Our most popular behind the scene video, Midbit video, for almost 15, closing in on 15,000. And I think our episode with stand-up comedian Kellen Erskine is probably our most popular episode at something like 1,400 views. Yeah. So on top of our normal podcast streams for that episode or downloads, we've got quite a few plays for Kellen Erskine. So that's another great episode if you want to go back 80 something.
Can confirm 1.4 thousand views on episode number 88 with Kellen Erskine. Wonderful guest, super nice guy.
Super cool.
Dude, a lot of people seem to have liked it.
Yeah, and he has his own comedy podcast called The Book Pile, where him and another comedian will sort of just tear down different books. They've done like Stephen Covey stuff. They've done Harry Potter stuff. They've like all over the board. They'll just read a book together, like their own little book club, and then just sort of have fun discussing it. So Book Pile is a fun podcast if you're into that kind of thing. Speaking of streaming too, we always seem to like to throw in a few things that we've been streaming recently at the end of episodes. It seems like our recent trend on our episodes. This feels like a good time, unless anybody has anything else that they wanted to throw in before we hit some of what we're streaming.
Nope, that sounds good. And just to clarify, Kellen doesn't tear down in a negative way books. He breaks them down with
down.
Yeah, with him. And I believe it's a writer friend of his. And it's very, very witty and very well done podcast. I highly recommend it. Probably the best place to start is if they've broken down or covered a book you enjoy, just to get a feel for the episode or for the style of podcast.
The other host is David Vance.
Yes.
Kellen Erskine and David Vance both hosts are both hosts of The Book Pile.
Yeah. And Kendall, I stepped on you. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I want to give a quick shout out to somebody who it was reminded to me that they listen regularly, and it is the one person who it tickles me the most that they're a listener, and that is Dr. Dave. I've talked about him before here and there, and I guess I assume that sometimes people will like just drop off, but no, he still listens, and I appreciate that about him. And my wife got to chat with him not too long ago, and he told her that it's like I know what's going on in your life. How was Nashville? So apparently, like I through the podcast gave him life-changing advice with the wearing of Perry suspenders.
Oh yeah.
And so because of that, he bought a pair and apparently loves them loves them, wears them all the time, and he got like 2 new pairs for Christmas. And so, how you doing, Dr. Dave?
Thanks for listening, Dr. Dave.
Thanks for listening, Dr. Dave. If we're doing shout outs, I got another a message from a former boss of mine who apparently listens to the podcast and said love the show. Love the show. And so Kathy, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have no idea the lives we're touching, the pants we're holding up.
Exactly. There are some things that I say every once in a while that, like, in hindsight, I'm like, oh no, Dr. Dave heard me say that.
It's okay. Corey's therapist has too, so it's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
So since we've talked about a lot of funny stuff, we can talk about something that's not funny. Jim Gaffigan's new special.
Oh, come
Oh,
on.
dude.
I'm just kidding.
That?
I'm just kidding, sort of. Have you guys watched it? The new
Yeah.
specials on Netflix, Comedy Monster. Have you watched it?
Mhm.
Yeah, like I said, we saw him live at Nationwide, and much of the content in that special is stuff that he covered.
That's right. That's right. I should have remembered that. So I finally got around to watching the special, and I'm a big Jim Gaffigan fan. I thought it was pretty funny. It wasn't my favorite special that he's done. If you're a big Jim Gaffigan fan, anyways, go watch it. I don't know though, if you've never really watched much Gaffigan, that's not where I'd start. I'll put it that way. I don't know. He was doing something different. I think he was trying to be a little edgier because he has this reputation as a clean comic. And even Kellen Erskine actually talked a little bit about that on when we had him on. And I don't know that comics necessarily love that label. Jim Gaffigan has performed for the Pope in front of the Pope of the Catholic Church. I don't think he loves that. And I feel like this special, maybe he tried to push a little too far to the edge, like in trying to be edgy, not just it happened to go that way, but he was trying a little bit. Did you guys feel the same way, or do you not? You didn't think so?
I didn't. Yeah. When I think of that special, like, I'm not even sure what you're referring to. You'd have to remind me. I don't think edgy when I think of that special at all.
Yeah, well, and I listen to so much edgier stuff that he's still very, very.
That's true.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why.
I was just gonna say edgy for him, not for not for everybody else. It was good. I did think it was funny that he had a line of jokes randomly picking on people like that were in band. That was amusing. He had some funny stuff. I guess it was just sometimes when you've been watching something for a while, and I felt the same with even Brian Regan. Some of his newer stuff has some really funny moments, but not quite the level of some of his past humor. And I don't know if just we've grown up and so expectations have changed. I don't know if the comedy's changed, but like Sebastian stays pretty sharp. Even in his newest stuff, I'm finding it really funny. So I don't know.
I feel like it's time for him to do something else.
Well, he was
Anybody
touring,
else feel that way?
He was touring not long before the pandemic started. He's back touring now. I don't know what material it is because I guess
for me, like I'm looking for like something I can sit at home and watch. I'm looking for a new special.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that'll probably come out of this tour. Whatever he's doing now, it'll likely.
Yeah. I think that he'll probably close it because it was Stay Hungry before this one, and this one is like who else does this or who does this?
Yeah,
something like that. Sebastian.
It wasn't bad though. I jumped into that a little harsh just to be funny.
Nobody does this as the current tour.
Nobody does this tour. So I would expect one of these to be filmed, and he'll pick his favorite night that got filmed. And that'll pop up on Netflix.
I was kind of bummed, and it was probably highly specific to his visit to Columbus. But when he was here and we got to see him live, he opened with like 10 or 15 minutes on bells and how he'll go to these really obscure towns and like he'll always ask like what's there to see and do around here, and how one Uber driver said we got a bell. And he went off on it, and I was crying laughing, and that's not in the special. But what is his bit on bikers, and I did not appreciate that bit one bit. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, that was when Sebastian was on the Stay Hungry tour, you were not able to go for whatever reason. And I had just watched the special with my wife, and then we went to the show. I would say there was maybe 10 minutes of the same jokes, and the rest of it was entirely different.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It wasn't even the Stay Hungry tour special. It was basically he happened to pull a few jokes over, which we were rolling the whole time. It was incredibly
Which will come as no surprise to lawyer listeners of this podcast.
No. I figured I'd mention a few things. Kendall mentioned Eternals last week with some game-changing outcome. I finally watched Eternals. We had a little text back and forth about it that I thought was funny, but I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. It's not the worst Marvel film. I thought it was a perfectly good entry into the Marvel universe. And I'm glad I finally got to see it. And I finally got to see No Time to Die, the final Daniel Craig entry, which I thought was great. And the only thing I didn't like about it was Rami Malek, who plays the villain, felt a little underdeveloped for being kind of a new villain for that. It wasn't like Spectre for all of Daniel Craig's movies. We kind of had a new introduction right at the end, but it didn't really matter. I mean, at some point, like, this isn't Shakespeare, it's James Bond. And so did you do enough that people know he's a bad guy and you don't like him? Then fine. Like, we got a perfectly good ending to the Daniel Craig James Bond films. And I was excited to watch it. It was so much fun.
Well, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. I feel like we gotta talk about each of these.
Okay.
For a second. Kendall was right about Eternals. It did have big implications.
That's true. It definitely had big implications.
I sent a video to you guys, and since we're shouting out other forms of content other than ours, we're just steering traffic away from us. But New Rockstars, if you're into anything Disney, Marvel, whatever, Star Wars, they do such a phenomenal job breaking down the Easter eggs in the little hidden gems that are in these films and TV shows that you should almost watch their video on whatever you just watched. And it's like you watch it again, because and again, to the casual viewer, you will still enjoy a good chapter of the Book of Boba Fett. But if you want to appreciate it to a new degree without reading decades worth of extra expanded universe content and comic books and other cartoon series, then just watch one of their 10 or 20 minute videos. I sent you guys one for Eternals that was really good. And the Eric Voss, the guy who does those videos, is just a really interesting and dynamic host for those. But anyway, I'm having almost as much fun running to YouTube and watching those videos as I am some of these films and TV shows. Anyway, big implications.
Big implications. Did you get to watch Eternals yet?
Yeah, we watched it as a family. I texted you guys in the group text because I had a friend who hated on it.
Yeah.
And some like really, really mean things to say about the movie. I was entertained. It's like I was entertained. Like you said, it wasn't the best. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't amazing. It was good. It was visually very, very interesting. Some new things we've never seen heroes do before. And yeah, I was entertained for 2.5 hours.
And I feel like we don't need a spoiler warning on something that's been out since November. I was excited, super minor part of it. I was excited about Kit Harington being introduced as a new superhero, Black Knight. And I don't know if you guys caught this, probably from the New Rockstars video. As Kit Harington is sort of opening this family sword, which essentially gives him his powers, the Ebony Blade, you hear this sort of voice in the background whispering to him. That's the actor who will be playing Blade in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, speaking to him. And one of the popular groupings, and I'm blanking on the name right now, but one of the popular groupings of Black Knight and Blade, they join this sort of British group of superheroes. It's like MI16. And it's sort of like the British Avengers, and Captain Britain is in there. A lot of people want to see I'm blanking on his name. He just played Superman in the DC universe. A lot of people want to see him play Captain Britain. See Kit, we'll see Kit Harington as Black Knight. We're gonna see the actor that they've picked up for Blade. And so it's really cool. So hopefully we're gonna see some of that continue to evolve. It's gonna get weird. It's gonna get wild in the MCU, but I thought that was really cool. So I'm super excited to see Black Knight, and we've got these like Moon Knight trailers coming out. It's getting wild, man. But it's not your standard like Captain America and Bucky anymore. We're gonna have like vampires and people with schizophrenia that are like superheroes at night and imbued by the powers of Egyptian gods, and it's getting crazy.
They're running out of the popular comics.
Well, they didn't even have the rights to the popular ones. They started with the less popular.
And there are still no mutants yet.
And the most popular Marvel characters had already been, the rights to those had already been sold, like X-Men and Spider-Man, to other movie production companies that were already doing things with them. So they had to pick up kind of the B team with the Avengers and Iron Man and use those as sort of the kicking off point. And Fantastic Four is another example, and Deadpool and some of these characters that have gotten really popular, they didn't even have the rights to. So now that we can see X-Men and Fantastic Four, and we've gotten Spidey introduced with the Sony deal with Marvel, now we actually are starting to see some of the most popular characters. As we're finding out, middle of a pandemic, No Way Home is like the 5th highest grossing film of all time, because it's just a freaking Spider-Man movie and people love Spidey. So
yeah, so MI13 was the UK's paranormal agency, primarily led by Captain Britain. And there's another member, Spitfire, that has a vampiric connection. So yeah, it's gonna get real interesting over there. A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, MI13, excuse me.
And then the Bond film. Kendall, I forgot. Did you see No Time to Die?
No.
Man, it was good. What a great ending to that run for Daniel Craig. I got a little emotional at the end. I mean, I welled up, man.
Yeah.
And then
there's not a whole lot you can say without doing a spoiler.
You can, hey, yeah, same rule applies. I've had plenty of time to watch it if I'd cared that much.
It's Bond finally actually dies, and right when he's truly found out that he's of all the women he's been with, he actually has a child, and he's met her, and then he doesn't get to go off with the girl and with the child, and Bond's gone, and so he's not immortal. He did finally pass, and that was with the final Daniel Craig film. So it is interesting, though, at the end of the credits it says James Bond will return. Like, that's what you expect on the second movie out of 5. Right. And so I think most recently we've talked about this on the one of the episodes. We highlighted 007 kind of we did some trivia. It was a lot of fun. But I think Idris Elba is one of the front runners again for the next Bond, which I think he would be excellent as a James Bond character. So we'll see. That's where we are. But yeah, No Time to Die was great. Not perfect, but very, very good as a final film for Daniel Craig.
So I also streamed Eternals, and I think I mentioned a week or two ago that we watched Sing 2. Those are just fun movies. If you like music and have a soul and have kids, sit yourself down and watch Sing 2. It's way better than The Matrix Resurrections. And you guys know I'm a big fan of the Beatles, always have been. I have multiple shirts of the Beatles. No, that's an inside joke. I feel like I'm supposed to appreciate the Beatles. I appreciate what they did for music. I just have a really comfortable t-shirt of them, but I feel like I can't wear it because I somehow feel like it's false. But I watched the Disney Plus documentary by Peter Jackson, Beatles Get Back, which is a 3-part documentary. Each part is at least 2 hours long, that covers a very specific part of their story. In January of 1969, they had a couple songs written, but wanted to get together to record like 14 or 15 brand new songs. And they were going to film the entire process from the moment they walked into the studio, that would all culminate a couple weeks later into, they weren't sure yet. They thought we might do a live television performance. They hadn't performed live in 3 years at this point. And so they're like, maybe we'll just do a documentary of the album. We're not sure, but we know we want to get together and record. They were all kind of starting to go their separate ways. So this was like their last get together. And so like a week into the thing, George walks out of the studio and he's like, I've quit the Beatles. So then they really don't know what they're going to do, because now they have a couple songs written at this point. They do end up convincing George to come back. They had 2 separate meetings to try to convince him to come back and to continue the project. And they have this famous director who's filming this whole thing. And they're like, we don't know what this is going to be. Is this going to be, maybe we don't do the live performance. Maybe we go do it like at a big ancient amphitheater. Maybe we get a big boat and go across the ocean and do a final. They still don't know. And the songs aren't written. And the deadline is coming because Ringo has to leave to go start filming a movie. And so 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. They still don't know how they want to end it. When they finally decide, they moved studios at some point because the acoustics were better at Apple Productions, which was their record company. They're just like, I think they had 7 or 8 songs in the bag at this point. They're like, let's just play on the roof. So they go 3 or 4 stories up and perform the songs that they had written in the previous 2 or 3 weeks, which interestingly ends up being the Beatles' last live performance ever. And they didn't tell anybody they were doing it. They literally just took all their equipment to the roof on a Thursday during lunchtime and just play all these brand new songs. And they're mega stars at this point. So people are literally walking on the streets going, is that the Beatles? Are those new songs? And a crowd starts to form. People start climbing up onto their roofs. The cops get called. They had like 30 calls in a matter of minutes as of disruptions of noise. And people just start like watching these heroes of music perform these songs. And they up there, they played for, I don't know, maybe a half hour. And that was their last live performance ever. They never recorded again. It was Peter Jackson did such a good job. He made me have a new appreciation for the Beatles. In the opening titles of each part, they say that they tried to truly honor, tried to stay neutral. They didn't want to paint any one Beatle in a certain light. So you really get a good sense for like the personality types and some of the internal dynamics. Yoko was with John Lennon at the time. And there are scenes where Yoko is like, you can tell that the other Beatles don't really appreciate her being right next to John all the time to record. It was really, really well done. So if you like music, check it out. If you like the Beatles as much as I do, check it out. But it was really, really interesting. And one of those things that felt more like a life experience than me sitting down to watch a film. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's on Disney Plus. And Peter Jackson and Wingnut Productions did a great job. That's all I got. Kendall, have you been watching anything?
No, nothing new. Just some more wrestling. Most of my screen time, free time, has been spent playing video games. However, I will say this: just one little update because I think it's fun. In the WWE universe right now, they're gearing up for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, the Royal Rumble is where they take, it's like how many, like 20, 30 guys. And they start with 2 in a ring. And if you get thrown over the top rope, you're out. That's basically the only rule. But every like few minutes or so, they bring out another competitor. So if nobody gets thrown out, you could have like 10, 15, 20 guys in the ring. who haven't been thrown over the top rope yet. And so you have like right now you have this moment where people are qualifying for the Royal Rumble or declaring that they're going to be part of the Royal Rumble. And it's going to end up being like all of the big names are going to be in there. Guess who's in the Royal Rumble this year? Johnny Knoxville.
Because of Jackass Forever.
Because they're promoting Jackass Forever for sure.
Oh.
Johnny Knoxville has been on several episodes recently.
That's
within
so
the past few months or so.
And if you don't know, this is also a time that they bring back folks that we haven't seen for a really long time. This is how Edge came back a few years ago. So like if fans know the intro music of iconic characters that we haven't seen in the ring for a long time, this is usually where they can come in, fight for a little bit, and inevitably get thrown over. But it makes everybody excited because you got to see some of your favorites from Blast from the Past. That's awesome. Are there any other like main storyline things? We should have like a little segment every so often that's like Kendall's Corner or something. Our little update on WWE.
Well, the Edge is still not a whole lot of fighting, but a whole lot of screen time. One of those situations. I mean,
nothing crazy.
It's nothing too crazy other than I guess WWE, if you miss a few months and then start watching, your head spins because you're figuring out what just happened here, right? Baby faces.
I thought they hated each other.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's always, we've talked about it. It's always one of those situations where if people would just talk and say what happened, it'd be fixed. It's always one of those. It's like, well, I mean, I wasn't actually trying to keep you from getting into the ring that got you counted out. It was actually really an accident. As a matter of fact, if you look at the video that everybody saw, it's very clearly an accident. Like that moment never takes place, but for some reason, like they've been hating each other for 6 years now because of that. And but yeah, no, it's this. Seth Rollins has turned from like the biggest baby face in a while to now he's like the most obnoxious, annoying heel that to the point that where like I used to like Seth Rollins, and I don't have a problem with somebody turning heel. Sometimes that makes me like them more. But I don't know if he's doing a really good job or a really bad job at pulling it off. Because
he started that transition right when I stopped watching, and I was like, "Oh, I can't stand this guy." He
is so cringe. I just can't wait for him to stop talking because he's annoying. And I have a feeling that like that's the type of heel that he's trying to be, which means he's probably doing a good job at it. But at the same time, like I don't want to watch him.
Yeah, he was doing the Monday Night Messiah stuff when I stopped watching, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm over Seth Rollins right now."
Yeah, but I guess he and Roman Reigns are gonna go at it. So that's gonna happen, I think. And then Roman Reigns and what's his name? The Beast, Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
They're the two brand championship holders right now. So they're gonna go. They're going to fight each other at the Royal Rumble event. But
fantastic. Well, thanks for the update, man. Appreciate it. Do you smell what Artius Man is cooking? I do. It's Winter's Chill. That's the beard oil that I have in right now, and it's got just a little hint of awesomeness in it. And it actually is a little relief for that stuffy nose. So thank you, Artius Man, for your sponsorship. Visit artiusman.com. That's ARTIUSMAN.com. Use promo code THEMIDDLE at checkout to get 25% all of your orders of amazing men's grooming products, beard balms, oils, mustache waxes, shampoos, amazing soy blend Woodwick candles. I've got Pipe Night right next to me that I'm almost done with. Check them out. And thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of From the Middle. We will catch you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.